I personally, I'm not very convinced that solo entrepreneurship or AI-based entrepreneurship really makes people happy, because we are human beings and we need to exchange and collaborate.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of School to Startup. I'm Ankita Bhosle from University Partnership Team at Tracxn. Tracxn has been supporting a global startup ecosystem for over a decade as a leading private market intelligence platform. We work closely with universities that encourage innovation and entrepreneurship. School to Startup is one of our key initiatives where we highlight academic leaders who are helping shape future of tomorrow. So today we are delighted to welcome Professor Bettina Merlin. She's Professor of International Business at Heilbronn University, Germany. So good to have you, Bettina, here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you very much to all the listeners.
So my first question to you is, can you tell us a little bit about your journey? How was your, what led you to academia, and how has been your experience?
Okay, what led me into academia was my curiosity. So I always loved science, and I loved research, and I'm very, very much into finding out new things and trying out new things, and academia is just a perfect place for this. And yeah, I started my career as a professor 20 years ago. And right in that point of time, I also started with entrepreneurship education. So I'm somehow like a dinosaur in entrepreneurship education. I I followed a lot of changes. So when I started in entrepreneurship education, it was mainly about business planning and how to write a business planning. And since the subject evolved quite a lot, and now at the beginning there was a question, is entrepreneurship learnable? But now from science we know it is learnable. And so yeah, it's a very, very interesting subject for me to be in there.
So 20 years, it's a really long time and commendable with the kind of experiences you've had in these 20 years. So my question is aligned with the kind of projects that you work with. So what are the most exciting projects or research initiatives that you're currently working on?
I'm currently working on two projects. The first of all is entrepreneurship education. So we are trying to improve entrepreneurship education, trying to become better and better, to help the students better to create their own initiative, their own startups, their own companies. And here we are at the moment working on a development journey. So how can I am program director of the Master of Entrepreneurship at Hochschule Heilbronn, and we were asking ourselves, how can we improve teaching and how can we improve the learning model to guide the students better through the first steps of a founding process. And here we developed the learning journey method, which is applicable to entrepreneurship education, but also to other subjects. So trying to create a consistent learning journey to help the students to meet the education goals at the end of their study. So this is the first project I'm working on. The second one is on responsible entrepreneurship. We are deeply convinced that we need to find a new way of doing business. The old one was apparently somehow successful, but now we see that the normal way of doing business is destroying nature, is destroying our basis for living. And so we need to find new ways of doing business and also new ways of doing founding companies. So At the moment, we are researching on responsible entrepreneurship and trying to find tools and methods which help students or all the people who want to create a company to do it in a more responsible way.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because whenever we think about entrepreneurship, we always think about the young, youngsters coming in and bringing their ideas. But I think your support to also someone who wants to start their own company at an older age, that's also a very interesting perspective. Along with this, my next question is in line with, what are the kind of trends that you're seeing in the startup ecosystem, and what are the kind of trends that students should be paying attention to?
Well, the first answer might not be very surprising for you. For sure, one of the big trends in the startup system is AI. Everybody is talking about AI. Yeah. And I see two different aspects of AI. So first of all, we have AI as a tool for founders and for young companies, which in my opinion makes founding a company faster and less expensive than before. We also see the trend of solo entrepreneurs trying to have a lot of agents and assistants, AI agents around them, helping them to found the company. Nevertheless, I'm not very convinced that solo entrepreneurship or AI-based entrepreneurship really makes people happy, because we are human beings and we need to exchange and collaborate. So, but nevertheless, AI is a tool for becoming faster and to do more things on your own, where maybe before you need to pay an agency or whatever. So this is in my opinion, the most important trend. But for sure, related to responsible entrepreneurship, there's also the trend of circular economy. I think in future, the legislation will point more and more to circular processes for product responsibility and so on. So in my opinion, those companies already focusing from the beginning on circular economy, they will have a competitive advantage in the future. And unfortunately, we also have the trend of war and military, something that was in Europe, I think, especially in Europe, not very present in the last decades, but it seems to be more and more important. And we have the adaptive measures on climate change. We see that our climate, our world is changing more and more. And I think all those startups that create measures to adapt to the new environment also will have a competitive advantage in the future.
That's a bunch of trends, I think, starting from AI, which definitely all of us are, all are now dependent on AI these days, and to, also sustainability and circular economy. I think that's an interesting trends that, you brought up. What are there any student-led projects or startups that have turned into success stories? Would you like to mention a few?
Yeah, this is a good question. So generally in the startup sector, if we talk about success, we talk about unicorns and big funding projects. And here I would like to answer your question: what is success? I mean, because rethinking entrepreneurship also in a responsible way, also rethinking entrepreneurship education. I think we also need to ask ourselves what is success. And I define success for me is, am I successful helping the students on their way? And here we have a much more open perspective, because for sure there are some students who discover during their journey that they don't really want to found a company, or that they don't want to found a company right now. So for sure, have a few founders. At the moment, we have a AI startup creating a software for learning mathematics in university. They are quite successful and a very successful startup at the moment. we have several students creating their company, having the first employees. But yeah, for sure, we also have those who go for an employee job, and but I'm sure that what they learned in the entrepreneurship education is to create an entrepreneurial mindset, and this will help them along their way during all their life. And this, for me, is success.
Yes, definitely. It's young students who are bringing their ideas and doing the best they can, and I think it's a good start for any entrepreneur. How do you see the role of academia evolving in the startup and innovation space over the next few years?
I think academia has been playing and will always play a very important role in innovation. So there will be new techniques coming up, maybe, for example, talking about quantum computation and new things coming up. But what I think is very important for academics, and what I don't see at the moment, is interdisciplinarity. So we see that in the past we have split up our reality in small little boxes, and every box was working on her own. But doing like this will or we jumped over the complexity of life, and life is complex, and we need to develop systemic thinking, and systemic thinking needs interdisciplinarity. So in my opinion, the future of academics is interdisciplinarity.
Yeah, that's new, and that's really interesting. That not just one expertise, but you might need multiple expertise, to start off any company. That's a great perspective. Uh, for those who are just starting off with their academic journey or are budding entrepreneurs, what is the kind of advice that you would like to offer them to prepare for this rapidly evolving landscape?
In my opinion, the biggest advice you can give young founders is follow your heart. So what we try to do with the students is to help them find their sweet spot, to find the subject they are really burning for. They are motivated to get up in the morning. They jump out of the bed, and they want to solve this problem. Because if you find this sweet spot, you have got the motivation to survive all the downs, because founding is never a smooth process. Founding has a lot of ups, but has the same number of downs. And as soon as you are in your sweet spot, it is easier to survive the downs. And the other thing is, think big, but start small. So it's okay if you really want to change the world, go for it. But if you try to do it from the beginning on, the step might be too big. So try to start with small steps, and it is always better to do and also to learn from mistakes, except of not doing anything. So start doing, go for it.
Yeah, I think that's a great advice. Always listen to your heart and take it slow. I think that a lot of a lot of entrepreneurs make huge mistakes at the beginning. They try to grow fast. They want to get everything done really fast. But I think taking it slow is also has its own charm, and I think that's really interesting advice. So I think you did mention a couple of projects and about your work earlier. So where can our audience learn more about your any research work or any projects that you're working on? Feel free to mention any publications.
Yeah, so yeah, for sure, you can have a look at the website of Hochschule Heilbronn in Germany, the Master of Entrepreneurship, and there you can learn about the learning model, the learning journey we've been designing. I have several publications. There's one on the Q method. We are trying to find out if students' thinking opinions on social entrepreneurship is changing. At the moment, I currently have two publications under under revision. under revision, and about the learning journey. So whoever is interested, I've been participating in a lot of conferences. So for example, University Future Festival in Germany, the Higher Education Summit from the Copernicus Alliances. So I'm trying to spread the word of entrepreneurship education, of the learning journey, on many different occasions. And whenever you are interested, just write me an email, and that's it. And I will answer you wherever you can access completely all the work.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your response, Bettina, and thanks for sharing your expertise on entrepreneurship. That brings us to the end of this episode. We sincerely thank you for sharing your time and wisdom with us. We thank all our lovely viewers and hope this episode has given them a new hope and inspiration to become successful entrepreneur. Stay tuned for more such episodes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Stay tuned, start going, and have fun.